Well, do we have more stuff to talk about?
Uh, well, let's ask the viewers.
Yes, of course.
Specifically Corpse. Corpse, do you have any questions for any of the, or I guess for Dante, or not Dante, Wendy or I, about us or about our characters, Lucy and Dante? And yes, Berserk was wild.
Hmm.
Biz, do you have any uh, questions that you'd like to ask either us or our characters?
Oh, they'll be there in a
He
moment.
just woke up.
Hmm. Uh,
Well, okay, so
hmm.
let me ask you this. Corpse. And you don't have to worry about us judging you, but who is your favorite character so far? Out of the the VTT characters.
I mean, there is a safe option,
Which is
Amish.
uh
Everyone
yeah.
loves Amish.
So like yeah, the tabletop characters.
Yeah.
As in like Lucy, Dante, Emeth.
Actually, I just noticed. Uh,
Yes.
Lucy has the highest AC and health of everyone.
He does.
Yeah,
But he also has the lowest strength out of everyone at 8.
we have the same strength.
Exactly.
uh, yeah, I actually ran into an issue where I technically can't carry any more stuff anymore.
Mm. If we were worried about encumbrance.
Yes. And I mean, even if that was a thing, then I also carry the bag of holding, so that's safe.
Mm.
But Corpse answers, that's a pretty tough one, because Emmett sounds fun to party with, but Matif to be getting hard, though. And Lucy could be fun to get into trouble with. Aha.
I don't know if you'd want to get in trouble with Lucy. You might end up in jail or worse.
Exiled. Or
Exactly.
executed.
Yes.
But yeah, every character does have their own parts where they shine.
Mm.
Mm.
And kind of related to that, other than Dante, who is your favorite character in VTT?
That's a tricky one. Um, I don't think I have a favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I I sort of enjoy the dynamics a bit more. Like it's how people act, and especially how they act together, that I sort of feel things about. But I I do enjoy Matif a lot, especially also because of the impulsiveness of Pastel's role playing, because there is so much emotion about Matif's current situation. So that sort of from a content standpoint, Matif is probably among the favorites right now.
And especially because I'm taking all of Pastel's comments as canon, as Matif saying them.
Yes.
Like when he's
Wasn't that also a
he's,
thing on the Twitter?
yeah.
Yeah, which one do you which do you relate to the most? Giving ethereal sass 1.
Yep. I could just see that. And then Corpse has a question. How extra is the other side of VTT? Like, is there a lot of pre-chaos or wild behind the scenes?
I think that varies a bit, doesn't it? Because of our time zones, the off-screen can sort of depend on how people are feeling, but there is at times a lot of pre-chaos and a lot of wild behind the scenes, and we all just, well, I'm assuming we all just love hanging out, and that's sort of what inspires that.
Yeah, but any good stories from those situations?
I mean, there's a lot of that fake passive aggressiveness when we're like in the final minutes before launching, of just sort of, especially with Merlin, sort of pretending that we're angry at each other occasionally.
I think my favorite dynamic is your secret relationship with Merlin. Well, not secret, but your relationship with Merlin. Your open relationship with Merlin.
I also really love when we finish an episode and Astrid doesn't want to go to bed. And it's just, she brings that wonderful energy that just sort of, I don't want to leave either. What, we've watched this TV show for half an hour now. What? It's very late.
Yeah, those are definitely some of my favorite parts. Is just surfing YouTube with Astrid and seeing what we're going to watch today. But I think that we definitely need to find out some time that works for all of us, where we can just do other stuff than VTT. So definitely looking forward to if the Minecraft VTT thing ever becomes a reality, or whatever other way we can collab together.
I mean, I will definitely make it when I can. It's a bit tricky right now, but it will happen. I mean, I might also be able to make servers for other games if we get interested in that. So many options.
Oh god, why did I just imagine a VR chat VTT session?
I mean, that would be hilarious.
Technically, I think we can import these 3D models into there, right?
We can. I think we have to use it. Oh, I found a loophole. There's a limit so that you can't just import your own model from the get-go. I think it's sort of a trusted user kind of deal. But if one person plays it enough, they can get all models and make them real for us all to share. I did try and do one at one point, but I failed. How often do the time zone differences make everything extra? That was complicated law. I mean, we are at probably the most unfortunate time zones possible in relation to each other. Going from, what's the most Western time zone we have? +6, maybe 7?
PST.
Yeah. That -8. So we really range from +8 to -8. And with me usually being +1 in the middle.
Yeah. Before moving to the East Coast, I always wake up early, so it wasn't a problem for me. But I'm sure it could be harder for other people, where waking up meeting at 6:45 in the morning and prepping for a long VTT session could definitely be quite a difficult situation. But now I'm exactly 12 hours away from our Australian friends.
Which, I mean, at least it makes the numbers easy.
Yeah. So for me, it hasn't really been difficult to do this, because I don't mind waking up early, and it's also definitely worth all the time or VTT is definitely worth all the time that I put into it. So for me, it's just like, it doesn't even register as anything extra.
Yeah, and for me it's quite practical because it's just in the afternoon, so I don't really usually have to do or think about anything specific beforehand. It's just real practical. How many more numbers are there behind the scenes of VTT, and how much extra math? Or does the software handle most of that okay? I'm assuming for the dice rolls. Because that's mostly done automatically for us, not for Merlin. But D&D as a system doesn't have terribly much math unless there are rogues and bards, which, oh no.
And then when I saw numbers, I thought he was referring to like other members.
Yeah, I thought so too.
And I was going to make a joke like, oh, yeah, we have a lot of slaves working for us.
I mean, of course, there is an extended VTT outside of core members, which usually the people who play Magic, occasionally do mini makers, and our art slave.
I like how that's what we've called him. We should make that his role under the VTT channel.
Yes, we should.
Art slave.
It is VTT's big and is going to keep getting bigger.
Because as you, I'm sure, are aware now that we have a, what is it called? Recruitment
drive.
Application. Yeah. And we're recruiting another group for VTT. I don't know why I said DTT. Discrete trial testing. Yeah. For VTT. And I won't say that I'll bully you guys, but be wary of of who you guys will be talking to a lot more regularly. Because you guys have already seen me mention that I'm very much like Lucy, so just be ready for that.
I have noticed. And yeah, so Corpse asks two questions now. How many people do you have a soundtrack? I mean, technically we don't have any, but we have gotten... Wasn't the soundtrack sort of bought or commissioned?
Yeah, so the soundtracks actually are from people who actually contacted me and say, hey, can you use this in your stream? So both of them were provided to us with their permission for free. Both the soundtrack that we're using now and the soundtrack that we're using earlier. Some of the ones Merlin had gotten for himself, but a lot of the more recent soundtracks were from someone who contacted me on Reddit, actually, asking if we could use their stuff.
Oh yes.
So yeah, technically, two people that I know of. I'm not sure how many people got into contact with Merlin, but to my knowledge, 2 people. Yeah, we can have definitely be welcome to have a music slave added onto that list. Just kidding.
It's
yeah, but I have seen the music that Corpse has posted on a lot of the Discords, and it'd be really cool to have some custom music for the VTT.
It would be fantastic.
We did mention one of the things that we should have a VTT theme song. VTT anthem.
I think we should wait a bit with that. You know, our characters should maybe solidify a little bit more. But yes, 100%. I think I mentioned before one of the games one time that I actually got the Critical Role D&D Beyond advert on YouTube once,
Mm.
which is just wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm. But yeah, like
How about
VDT is scarily legit with what we do
yeah?
and what we have.
Mm-hmm. We're at 88 followers, right?
I cannot see, but I'm assuming that's probably correct.
Yeah, we have 88 followers. I remember our first, obviously the VOD on Twitch doesn't exist anymore, but our episode 0 had, I think it was a little over 350 views.
Yeah,
And I don't know how much Twitch like, uh, differs from YouTube, but I feel like it's a lot. No.
it is. All the auditioning runs got a lot of views.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we haven't been able to maintain that, but that's because of the simple concept of what we're doing is a persistent campaign is a lot harder to follow along with than a one shot. So that makes it make a lot of sense. But I think even as an early campaign, we have amazing numbers.
Even our YouTube uploads have been getting pretty decent views.
Oh yeah, they're
our
all getting views.
Yeah, our most viewed one is still episode 0 at 121 views,
Ooh.
and then the second most viewed one is episode 1, the Pago Fort.
Mm.
And then let's see what else.
Minimakers is
Through the
usually...
Grapevine.
Ah, yeah, yes. Like Minimaker sometimes hits pretty well.
Mm-hmm. And it's pretty good because these are long episodes. So.
Mm.
And I'm sure the addition of another Team B to the VTT group will also assist us with that.
Yeah, I think it will. Last time I heard about it on YouTube, at least, the algorithm absolutely appreciates more frequent uploads. So having an additional team will mean potentially twice as many uploads, or roughly. So that'll at least help us on that side potentially. Mm.
Corpse asks, you be getting into a lot of heat with Mativ. Do y'all ever get the jitters or any other big feelings from those in character arguments? So me personally, I do connect a lot with Lucy, as I feel like he's pretty much just me in D&D form. But me, I don't really get jitters from any of this stuff. But like I said, that's just me. And there are feelings that pass through me as I'm role playing the character, but I don't take them like personally or have them sit within me because I know like at the end of the day we are playing characters. So like I do feel those feelings of like sadness and anger and whatnot, but they don't sit within me because I know like it is just a game at the end of the day. But I'm just speaking for myself. Obviously, it can be different for other people.
I feel that separation of player versus character is a big deal in games like these, where even the best friends can sometimes get into an argument in game, and it would really not be great if everyone took that really personally. Mm.
Yeah, especially with the conflicts that, you know, Matif and I have been having where we're literally at each other's throats.
Yes, one player choking another is. Mm.
Yeah, and to go along with that, I think like such varied backgrounds of all the members of VTT, especially with, you know, Pastel having a lot of experience with psychology and mental health, and then me having, you know, some backgrounds in a lot of different things, but one of the things that we have in common is behavioral. What is that? I've studied behavioral science, so seeing how, you know, our backgrounds influence the characters as well is another interesting thing.
And then there's me, the literal child of the group with no background.
And you say that, but I think that there's a lot that you have to offer, or there's a lot that you do offer
Oh, well, that's kind of you.
in
Thank
this
you.
team.
Well, no background is a background like any other.
Exactly.
Hmm.
But even then, I still do think you have quite a good background.
Well, I mean, everyone
And
has a background.
mm,
It's just not a scientific one. Like the two you just gave us examples. And another question: do you feel like you learn from people through their characters? And if so, has that feeling ever been invalidated or brought to uncertainty? I mean, it's important to remember that we're always playing characters, but it's not unheard of for a character to be, you know, a reflection of oneself. Uh, so I think if you know how to look for it, I think you can learn a lot about another player through their character, but it could also be just wrong. Hmm.
yeah. So one of the questions earlier um, kind of touched on this, and the answer that I gave to that question was that Lucy is very similar to how I am in real life, and because of that similarity, um, it's been beneficial for me in the way that I've been able to use Lucy as somewhat of a foil and seeing where my weaknesses are in my own life and where my strengths are in my own life, and seeing how certain or what actions lead to certain consequences um, in a place where it's obviously just a game. But even though it's just a game, like because it's such a well done game, it can be used somewhat to like reflect uh, real life experiences. And so I have, you know, learned a lot about myself from participating in VTT, especially when it deals with a lot of uh, things related to like confidence. Because another one of the things that we mentioned in this VTT episode dealt with Emmett and Lucy, where they both present themselves to the world at large uh, in a very certain manner. But when they're around each other, they're able to, you know, take down those presentations for even just a little bit and share the aspects of them that they've chosen to hide or, well, to hide from the outside world and even sometimes themselves. And so that was something that I used as a learning experience for myself as well. So yeah, um, yeah. But in regards to you know, feeling invalidated or uncertainty, Um, it is important to remember that it is just a game, like Wendy mentioned, but that doesn't mean you can't learn from it. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, there's always a balance. There's always a balance.
I mean, there is also one thing that is definitely something you can learn about people, and that is if, weird facts that you might not know that they're interested in. Like if a certain character brings a random detail in, like if Dante said something weird about potatoes that no usual player would need to know about potatoes, or similarly, about boats or military strategy.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a way to to learn of people, but it's a roundabout way.
Mm-hmm. And
Mm.
it's funny that you mentioned that because when you and Burn have been streaming, I've been having you in the background, right?
Mm.
And I remember you were giving off random facts about animals and whatnot, and you're just like, yeah, I've watched a lot of I forget exactly what you said, but you've watched a lot of videos, like random videos.
Yeah. I am a repository for random facts, especially about animals. Hmm.
Okay, here's a good question, or here's a funny question. What's the dumbest thing either of you have successfully rolled initiative for, VTT or not?
Hmm.
So I can go first with that one. So in VTT, Lucy has definitely rolled for some really interesting stuff. I remember he rolled a sleight of hand check, well, multiple sleight of hand checks to stuff grass. Was it grass or dirt? It was one of those things. He was rolling a sleight of hand to stuff grass in Matif's pockets.
I think I might have missed that.
Oh, yeah, you did miss it because you were stuck to a tree.
Why'd you do that?
So what had happened was we were looking for you in the forest, right?
Hmm.
And we wanted to use fire to herd out plant some of the plant enemies that we had been facing. And so we all rolled it was investigation checks to find firewood, and I rolled really bad. So Merlin's like, "Oh, you just found grass. You couldn't find any wood in a forest." And I was like, "Okay." And so I used that grass. I took the grass with me. I was like, might as well. And I was just feeling kind of devilish, and I rolled a sleight of hand check to stuff that grass down Matif's pockets. And what's funny is that the first time I rolled like an 18, so I was able to stuff grass and without him noticing. And then the second time I tried to do it, or was it the third time? I think it was the second time. Tried to do it again, and I rolled really bad. So as I was putting the grass in Matif's pocket, he noticed me, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I don't remember how I explained myself, but that was also the same episode where in that same exact episode, we were going down a cave to find you, or we thought we'd find you there, and it was really dark, and at the time Lucy didn't have dark vision. So Matif was actually leading him through the cave by holding his hand, holding Lucy's hand. So yeah, you actually did miss a lot. I forgot that you weren't there.
Like, I I feel like now there are things that I wish that I'd experienced because they sound funny, but I'm actually so glad that I decided to skip those episodes and went into it a bit more unprepared. Because I think that also made it easier to be just Dante and be like, honestly, people, what have you done?
Yeah, I remember one of the things I mentioned to you as Lucy was, yeah, you got pants while you were
Oh yeah,
unconscious.
you totally just you did in such a straightforward way as well that Emma just took your trousers off.
Yep,
Mm,
that was good times, good times.
absolutely.
I think that was right before I interrogated you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. As for my dumbest thing I rolled for, I do a lot of dumb stuff. That's just my style of playing D&D. Um, of actually, I do a lot of pickpocketing in all my games. Um, oh no, I found it. I found the dumbest one. It was a game run
What
by
is it?
my best friend. Um, I so really the story was that we were working for a gang and we had to gain entrance to a factory, and we got some guards to escort us through the sewers because that was the way. And as we were walking there, I just went, I could make this weird. So I started talking to this guard, and I started rolling deception to try and make him believe that owlbears lived in the sewers. And I rolled so terribly in all of them. He did not believe me. Until my final lie, I think it was maybe the fourth or the fifth one, where I just pick up some like mud and go like, yeah, this is clearly owlbear dung. And I roll a nat 20 on it, and that guard has been a recurring character who just believes there are invisible owlbears in the sewers. Apart from that, just a lot of chaotic stuff. I think in recent history, some of my most funny stuff were just from the one shot with Pastel, of just pickpocketing everyone and everything.
Mhm.
That
And as he's talking, more watches appear on his wrist.
yes, it's a mental image I never want to forget. Just my growing collection.
I'm excited to continue that because um, there's still a lot more to Bon and Mal that you guys haven't seen yet.
Ooh. Yeah, and that's.
But then Corpse. Oh,
Oh
go
yeah.
ahead.
I was just gonna say that's one of the issues with doing like one shots and short games, is that sometimes you make a character and you love them, and you can do so much more with them, but
Mm-hmm.
they were tailored for this game and they wouldn't fit anywhere else.
So Corpse asks, have you guys ever thought about putting redeems from your own streams into VTT, like Maidwind or Bjorny Jail Pestle? And we have thought about it. Well, actually, not from our own streams, but we have thought about putting specific redeems. But unlike some other D&D channels where certain things happen in the game, we prefer to keep the game, uh, outside of other people's hands. I guess is the way to put it. But we have considered doing other things as redeems. But in terms of from our own streams, I can't answer that because I don't stream. I mostly just post on YouTube. But maybe Wendy can answer that.
I'm not actually certain. When we started talking about this, I thought Merlin's big idea was to keep it a bit more professional as well. But that's really just changed when he started working on getting sound alerts in there. So I don't actually know what we're looking for. Sort of. I think there is stuff to be thought about sort of interfering with players or maybe accidentally changing the mood of a scene by someone getting into a maid dress or horny jail or something.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Astrid's bulb mode would go in an actual VTT stream. I think that just sort of it brings a specific aura with it that could be detrimental to the sort of cohesion of of our characters. As much as
I know it
do
was.
want chaos, I also like stability.
Hmm.
Although wasn't yeah, I mean the one shot, of course, with Pastel. We got a bit strange there, didn't we? I was catboy throughout. You were way zoomed in on your face. Hmm.
And funnily enough, Astrid was actually the normal one.
Yeah, who'd have known?
Exactly. But if you guys have any like ideas, like we are welcome to look at the ideas and see what you guys would like to see.
Hmm.
I know one of the ideas that had kind of been talked about was getting redeems the outside of the game, where with enough points, maybe they could redeem like me to say something, uh, whatever that is.
Hmm.
Okay. Just imagining the power that we're putting into people's hands.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some more like balancing work to be done about that, since we don't all have obvious sort of out of game skills that are useful in this way. Um,
I'm laughing because you think that me talking is a useful out of game skill.
I mean, your voice is a skill, Yume. Hmm. I don't know. I could design a printed circuit board.
It's actually funny because I was doing my homework one time
Hmm?
for my discrete structures class, and I was going to post in the VTT server. I need help with this predicate logic problem, and I was wondering who might be able to um, assist with that, and it seems like the most likely person to do that would be you.
Maybe. I don't know. uh,
Yeah, because predicate logic deals a lot with not to get too into it, but
hmm.
predicate logic deals a lot with the circuit boards with like ifs, ands, ors,
Hmm.
and the truth values of each variable. So, but I figured out the problem, so I didn't have to resort to asking the VTT for problems with my computer science homework.
Hmm. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, we both have natural skill voices. Thank you. uh,
Oh, Corp says could say the same about me if you left the Southern out.
hmm.
It would be so it would be really interesting considering that Lucy has somewhat of a Southern accent. If if there was another character in there who also had a Southern accent, seeing how that plays together.
that my idea right there was just that somehow B team would all be slightly odd, like mirror universe versions of A team.
So Dante's mirror would be some super self-confident asshole who talks a lot but really can't back up his his words.
Oh, I want like some kind of like pyromancer who just can't hit. Like talks big, never shoots straight.
And then I guess Lucy's opposite would be just someone who doesn't talk at all. And um, I don't know, what would Lucy's opposite be?
A super scarily compliant city guard.
That sounds so boring though.
Exactly, that's the issue with it. That Lucy's cool. Like part of Lucy's cool factor is just the absolute "I'm not taking orders from you" kind of attitude, and sort of just plainly flipping that without sort of nudging it in a slightly different direction. It would sort of become a robot.
Actually, now that I know that you like, well, I've known that you've liked Helsing, but for some reason it hasn't popped up. But I don't know if you remember, but Lucy wears um, wireframe glasses, and
Oh.
the inspiration that I got from Astrid doesn't normally draw him with the glasses on, but he does wear those glasses, and I'm pretty sure you can guess where I got the inspiration of those glasses from.
Yes. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
Yeah, from Alucard.
Yeah. I love Alucard's glasses. Okay, I love everything about Alucard. Mm.
Yeah. So, just to bring it out there real quick, the visual inspirations that I had for Lucy were Alucard from Helsing, mainly his glasses, uh, Western cowboys like Clint Eastwood's character in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and also McCree, relating to his poncho and his metal arm. And I also had some visual inspirations from what's his name, Lucian in League of Legends, mainly with the hair, and then also some characters from a fighting game called Guilty Gear, specifically Kai Kiske, or is that how you say his name? Kai Kiske.
I don't know.
From Guilty Gear. Yeah. So those were my visual inspirations for Lucy, because he is a very what's the word I just described him? Interestingly dressed man.
Yeah, my inspiration for Dante was Farmer Boy.
Oh, interesting. So Corpse has a um analysis where he says, from what I've absorbed, I think Lucy's opposite would be a very rash person. Lucy at least seems to want to partially contain it in the right situations, but I think the opposite of Lucy would just be all fist fights all the time. What do you think about that?
Yes. But I think, with the way that Lucy has a tendency to get into fist fights, I think it would be fights, but not fists. Just, like, yeah. Maybe a bit more of a dirty fighter, just pocket sand.
Kind of going to that though. He does, like I mentioned in one of the earlier questions, that he does know that he's human. So if I think part of being human is that if you're desperate enough, you'll do anything. And I also wouldn't put that past Lucy if it ever got desperate enough. So I unfortunately do not know Jojo well enough to make any intentional Jojo references other than you thought it was me, but it was really me, or you thought it was Jojo, but it was really me, Dio.
Yeah, I sadly don't watch Jojo either, so I don't know anything.
No, Kono Dio da. But that's all about it. Or Zawarudo. But I do not know who Pucci is. And then Corpse asks, did you gentlemen fly through character creation? Or did you guys have a pre-planned idea before you even built? And I think that's interesting because obviously you were a part of VTT before I was, and
Not for long.
I
No.
had the chance, yeah, but I had the chance to see your characters, um, see your characters before I made mine, and potentially like build around you guys.
Hmm.
So I'm curious to see what your answer is for that.
Um, actually, I did have an idea beforehand. It changed very quickly. But it was actually so Merlin had talks with all of us before we sort of really got into the game, and that's really where most of my ideas came from. Of like, I want to be a mage because I like mages, but I want to be something different, and that's sort of how we came to this really unusual young adventurer who should quite probably not actually be an adventurer. Um, and sort of uh, we're actually using a custom subclass for Dante, so there was a lot of thinking and writing that actually had to go down before he even became a character.
Did you guys make that subclass for Dante, or was that already written
Uh, we
prior to Dante?
we found it and Merlin adapted it. Um, so it is not original, but it is customized.
I see.
'Cause there is apparently not really an official like druid-like warlock thing.
Hmm.
Mm. There are some Fey ones,
Yeah.
but that got a bit too Fey.
Yeah, so for me, because I had the chance to see everyone else's characters beforehand, obviously auditioning, not knowing if I was going to make it or not, I had built two characters actually um, that I presented to Merlin. I asked what his opinion on, which one he felt would be better. So I made two characters. One of them was Lucy, which is obviously the character that you see now. But my other character's name was Nana.
Okay.
And so this could have been the guy. This could have been one of the characters that you guys would have met
Oh,
if Lucy had. Wow, can you believe that? A world without Lucy.
sounds
What kind of
dangerous.
world would that have been? Okay, so I'm pulling up the description I had for the other character, Nana. So here's the description that I wrote down for him. He was a half elf. He was a fighter, and I'll read it in. So both of them were going to be like southern characters, so I didn't have to work on a new accent. But this was his description. So don't let the cute name deceive you. Nana is a bona fide bounty hunter. He's a genuine gentleman as long as you're not in his sights. However, be aware. He might smile in your direction, but in his head, he's thinking of all the ways you might shoot him, and all the ways he might shoot you. When it comes to his work, he only has two rules. 1, he doesn't kill children. 2, he doesn't kill if he doesn't agree with why they're being killed. Because of this, Nana lives day to day with a meager pocket and the various weapons he carries around. He grew up on the streets and ran with petty gangs until he eventually grew out of it. He's probably killed a few semi-notable figures in his time as a hunter, but he doesn't let the threat of revenge slow him down. All he cares about at the moment is his target and what his next meal is. And so he was going to be like this bounty hunter, similar to if you've ever seen Trigun.
I have not.
No, but he's basically like a bounty hunter, similar to Trigun or Cowboy Bebop. If any of you have ever seen those.
I have not yet.
But he was basically going to be a bounty hunter. Probably not as charismatic as Lucy, but I guess the other way to put him would kind of be like what's his name? Levi from Attack on Titan.
Mm,
He was gonna end up kind of like him.
very cool. So yeah, both your character ideas were both sort of confident, uh, powerful guys.
Yeah, and the reason for that being was that because it was my first time really role playing and playing D&D ever,
Mm,
I didn't want to make a character who I couldn't really play easily. Not to like say I'm like the super confident person, but um, it would have been a lot easier for me to play someone who's similar to me than someone who's very dissimilar to me, and me not being able to understand how they'd react to certain situations or certain things. But now that, like we talked about in the beginning, now that I've had more experience and I've learned a lot more about roleplay, I feel like I would be able to play a character who's a little bit more unlike me.
mm. Yeah, it's usually a good idea to rather play it safe than to risk something being mediocre or even bad on a long form campaign. But I mean, there is, of course, because it's a, a long campaign, we get the option of actually, you know, developing the
Character
character.
development.
Yeah. So even
Mhm.
uh, even a confident character can crack, or uh, someone who doesn't have confidence might grow into it someday. Someday.
And that's what also makes me excited is that, once we've gone over, a lot of the unresolved knots in our backstory, then we're literally making the character from there, basically.
Yeah.
We're writing their story.
And yeah, in a way, we're also letting each other write our stories because of our interactions, and some people with some
Exactly.
slight twisted together stories, like with
Mhm.
Eve on that ship that sort of ties you and
Mhm.
Matif in that unfortunate uh, fight you have.
Yeah, and so related to that, when I told Merlin about Eve,
Mm.
I gave him just like her background and like I pretty much explained it with the poem, but basically all I gave him was that they loved each other before the war, but they were on opposite sides of the war, and then Lucy suggested that they elope to some other land. I think it was the Prismatic Isles, and he asked for the help of someone, but that someone ended up betraying both of them, and Eve ended up uh, going missing, and Lucy believed her to be dead. So I wonder, in all that time where Eve's been technically gone, what has she done? Was she part of the crew that, you know, decimated Matif's crew? Or is she like a prisoner of theirs? Like, I'm really interested to see how Merlin's tied in backstories with other characters' backstories.
Mm. And
And speaking of that other character that I mentioned before, who I said when he shows up, we should be fearful. I feel like it would be really cool to introduce him in Team B's campaign,
yeah.
and them not knowing who he is, but me knowing who he is. I just it just bring a smile to my face. Like, you guys don't even know who you're talking to.
Mm. I think it's a bit funny because with my backstory, I talked with Merlin and gave him some information. Like, okay, this stuff matters, and but here's a list of things that just sort of don't. you want to surprise me? So there are, of course, things that have significant value to Dante's past. But for example, that time we came across the other halflings, I didn't know about those, and a lot of things are also, just as confusing to me as they are to Dante. So without giving too much away, there are also certain things about like Dante's magic that I actually had Merlin do for me. So I know more than the other like the other players, but there are also lots of things that I don't even know about my own past.
And I think that's pretty fitting, seeing as you're literally just a person and you're a patron of someone. You should know everything about the magic, right?
Yeah. Dante is such a person.
Which I feel like is also why Lucy's concern for Dante's power is also a valid concern.
Oh, that just... Ooh. And that made me think of something. So, again, without spoiling Helsing, with your idea that Dante might turn into some kind of, monster, that made me think of the whole scene where two characters went, "Don't turn into a monster, only humans kill monsters." I don't want Lucy to kill Dante.
I think it would break him to do it, but I think he'd do it because
I think so too.
Yeah.
If he could.
Because every time he's interrogated you, he hasn't been like he's never has he said that it's Dante's fault?
No.
Yeah, he's just been asking him like, "Are you working for some other power, or should we be worried?" He's never really said like, "Hey, you're evil." Yes.
There was that bit right where I came back where you kept the book secret from me and stuff, where like I was also being like, yeah, oh no, do I have to actually make a case for myself?
Lucy's not really afraid to ruffle some feathers, as we all see.
But
and so, oh, go ahead. I was just going to bring out the questions that I think Corpse had asked.
I was gonna do the same, so you go ahead.
All right. So he asks, do you guys generally plan your alternate campaigns based off scheduling issues, or do you guys just have alternate campaigns on backup in case the primary campaign just can't happen? I laugh a little bit because how people think we're very organized and prepared for everything.
Yeah, we don't. Wasn't it just like we can't play next week, and then it wasn't even solidified that we were gonna play this one shot until a couple days before.
I made my character for that one shot the night before. Pastel called me and she's like, "So let's make your character." And I was like, "Cool."
Yeah, I made mine. Well, it was the same day Astrid did. It was also just like a couple days before, and I also had to set up the stream and all sorts of stuff. It was wonderful. I was up real late the day before we had to do it because I had to receive art from Pastel that I had to set up in OBS, and a little bit of chaos is nice.
Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. Like we're all very competent, and I think because we're all very competent, we can kind of get away with this, the chaos. Yeah. And then Lord asks, what kind of vibe are y'all going for in this campaign? What do you think our vibe is?
Um, a fun one. I don't
Mm.
think there is a consensus for the vibe. Um,
Mm.
but I think everyone's out to write an interesting story together and have fun doing
Mm.
it. I mean,
Yeah.
there are times where I'm thinking, okay, I think if this goes according to like how I imagine it, it's gonna be epic. Like this next arc is gonna be so grand. But it's really just sort of, I think Merlin has views, but we're all just trying our best to make it good.
And to kind of go off your answer, I think that we are all trying to just write a great story. And part of what makes stories great are not just that, one single aspect is presented well, but that, you know, the story makes you feel a whole range of emotions. So, in all the episodes that we've had so far, we've definitely had a lot of humorous, funny moments.
Mm.
In no part to especially Matif. But we've also had moments that were a lot more somber and sad, such as with the potential death of Amesh, and also um, we've also had some more reflective and I guess darker moments with Lucy dealing with a lot of his uh, trauma from the war and his horrors that he's seen from the war, and also Matif's emotions regarding the death of his crew. And you also get to see these warm, tender moments with people like Matif and not Matif, sorry, Emmeth and Lucy. So I think that's really what makes the story so good and so robust and so well done, is that you get to feel a lot of these different emotions and experience everything.
As you're giving these examples, I one example popped into my head of that interrogation that went a bit wrong, and it's just like when I misclicked and it just became a real thing. It was sort of like there's this super tense moment. Everyone's about to beat each other up. I
And an
misclick, and
Eldritch Blast.
yeah, it's just sort of a sort of Dante becoming comic relief to sort of lighten the load a bit. It's just like accidentally blasting magic into the sky.
Mm.
Mm. When did we first try TTRPGs? I have a couple years experience. Did it at boarding school. That would have been 2016-ish. Did it with some friends. And I've been sort of forever DMing ever since. Occasionally I got to be a player, but I'm glad that I'm a player now.
um, so whenever the first episode 0 of VTT happened, that was my first ever TTRPG game. No experience before. I had seen like 1 or 2 episodes of Critical Role, but no experience beforehand.
Hmm.
I'm just really glad I enjoyed it so much and that I was accepted into VTT. My Saturdays would have been much more boring without it.
Yeah. I think also, yeah, I think Merlin had an idea about whether or not you'd be fit for the team before session 0. Given how that's really, the first 2 auditions were just go somewhere, pick stuff up, and just be a new crew every time. But session 0 already
Mm.
had the majority of the crew, and it was just you.
And it was funny because I remember in that episode where Lucy is first introduced, the first thing Lucy ever did was kick open the doors of the bar.
Yeah.
He danced over to his seat in the bar. Or no, before that, he used minor illusion to create an L. Then he danced over to his seat in the bar and ordered drinks for everyone, and then made a poem to Emeth. And then Mati was just like, "What the fuck are you saying?" And
And that's
yeah,
when love
that
blossomed
was
between two dudes.
yeah. So that was Lucy's entrance into the world of Haruvian Nights, and he's been there ever since.
I do, I do slightly wish that the two auditions had been up, because I just Dante had more comic relief moments in those. It was so dumb.
Yeah, I still don't know what happened in those because I never got to watch them. But I always hear this story about like the piano and Dante almost killing someone.
I'm pretty sure one of the first roles in the entire Eurovian Nights series was me jumping out of a cart and failing and
Mhm.
landing face first in mud. I think that was in the first game. Uh,
Mm.
and also, like, Dante has some very slight trauma because in both of those sessions, his team members got eaten by frogs.
And they died.
No, everyone survived.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's how I can come on to Dante's second trauma of him killing someone. Yes. I rolled really poorly on a medicine check, and I killed Mari's
Uh-huh.
character. uh, Merlin retconned it a bit, uh,
Mm.
and made them live through magic, but mechanically speaking, Dante was so bad at first aid that he killed someone.
Perfect. Now I know for future reference, do not ask Dante to perform first aid on anyone.
Mm. Oh, I'm gonna have to check. Like, I think it was just sort of yeah, it's just sort of going by the mechanics, uh, because Emeth had just done medicine, I think passed, but she has a negative medicine score, and mine is 0. So I just went, okay, Mari can roll. That's no modifier. Astra could roll again. That's a negative modifier. Or I could roll and potentially be a hero. Oh no, I'm not a hero.
Just imagine Surgeon Simulator where you just start cutting up his arm or something.
I love Surgeon Simulator. Hmm. Ah, what's the most traumatic or emotional moment you guys ever had in a TTRPG? I don't think I've had any yet. Because my games are a lot sillier. Uh, there's been the occasional tense moment where someone dies, but I'm I'm looking forward to seeing what Merlin can produce in this game. And I also know of a couple of things that I don't know if he would do, but if he did them, they would probably make me shed a few tears. And I kind of want that to happen.
So, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Merlin has the right to that moment. That was it.
So for me, um, regarding me as a person, I actually did shed a tear when Amesh told Matif, "Here, hold my surfboard." Because the moment he said that, I knew what was going to happen. Like, there's no other reason this man would give his surfboard away unless it was for this reason. So when that happened, I actually did shed a tear. um, but in relation to Lucy and the character, he's had a lot of emotional moments. Um, well, not a lot, but he's had his fair share of emotional moments in this campaign. First, starting with, um, just would you call uh, the clock tower, or not the clock tower, the court scene emotional, where he, where he basically called out everyone in the courtroom and got him increased fine.
I don't know if I'd say it's emotional. I might also not be remembering it perfectly. It was very tense, but I think we managed to squeeze in enough fun to sort of
Mm.
keep it just that kind of uh oh no, what's he gonna do next kind of situation, rather than a
Mm.
oh no, our friend's gonna go to prison forever. Um, so I think
Yes.
it could have easily been like a bit more emotional, but I don't think we quite got there.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I honestly thought Merlin was going to put me on the executioner's block. I'm glad it was just a court case.
Mm.
But going back to the question, yeah, Lucy's had his share of emotional moments, and not really in the way you'd expect. Um, but he did have one with Matif where he talked about, one day he'll meet his end like everything else in the world, but he said he's the master of his own fate, the captain of his own soul, because he's been chained all his life, so he doesn't want anyone to take away his freedom. So there was that moment, and also the moment with Emmett. I think this has been his most emotional moment so far, where he was talking about, you know, his eternal punishment is to keep living, to keep living with the guilt that, he killed the fathers and mothers of children, that he sent back caskets instead of their sons and daughters to their homes, and he said that he's being haunted by visions of his comrades, saying "save me," but he can't do anything other than live to make up for it. And then he mentioned that, you know, in order to take revenge on the people who brought about these atrocities, he'll do whatever it takes, even if it means that he has to become the devil. So that was definitely his most emotional moment so far. But so far, uh, asterisk on that. I definitely have a lot more in plan for Lucy, um, to get even more emotional. So have you ever played the Mass Effect series or any of those similar Bioware games?
I have actually never played Mass Effect. What other games did Bioware do? Because I don't think
Dragon Age.
I played Origins, but never finished it.
Yeah. And then there was the old Star Wars Knights of the
mm,
Old Republic games, I believe.
yeah, I never played those ones either. Yeah, I don't
Um,
have a good grasp on their games.
but you're familiar with like the system, like the relationship system,
Yes.
where there's like certain levels of a character, and you have to choose the right dialogue choices in order to unlock, the further, more deeper relationship.
Mm.
So I've done the same thing for Lucy, where
Okay.
if you guys as players give me the right dialogue choices, I will open up the relationship to the next level so you guys can hear his next set of dialogue.
I mean, I
And
think
so you guys, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I think that works pretty well because I
Mhm.
mean it's gamifying it, but it is not too far from what people do. Like
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
uh, it is really just getting along and getting to know each other better, isn't it?
Mhm. Mhm.
Just having
Yeah.
your minds be aligned like that just makes a deeper relationship more valuable, I guess. That makes sense.
And so, yeah, it does. And so to kind of build off that, you guys have unlocked level 1 of Lucy's relationship dialogue, which isn't very hard to meet. And then recently, you guys have unlocked level 2, the level 2 dialogue with Emmett's, moment that they just recently had.
Mm.
But I believe that the gap between level 2 and 3 will be a lot more, depending on how this next episode goes. But in total, there are 5 levels of relationship dialogue with Lucy.
Ooh.
And right now, you guys are on level 2.
I also just realized something. And now, the strength of this moment might be decreased a little since I'm gonna just say it now. But at some point, Dante is gonna have himself a little moment, I think, because he is of course a farmer, and one day he's gonna wake up and think about all the people he's killed. He's not a soldier. I haven't said anything specific, but I'm quite sure he's not killed a humanoid until the campaign started. One day he's gonna
he vaporized the set of soldiers.
Yes. At some point he's gonna sit down and he's gonna go, oh no. I'm suddenly looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how you express that. Actually,
I'll probably have to prep for it a bit, but I'm hoping to make it good.
Plenty of videos or plenty of movie recommendations, so you can see what it looks like.
Is that the perfect time to respond? I have personal experience. Probably not. I don't, by the way.
Yeah, that would not be the right time to admit to being a potential mass murderer. Although you have killed a lot of bots, though, so
I have. They're coming for me.
Yeah. Yeah. One day, as you sit upon your couch, you'll think about all the bot lives you've taken and how heavy their binary souls weigh on your heart.
One day. But that day is not today. Actually, it's kind of the opposite. Because I've been getting the you want to be famous bots a lot rarer nowadays. Because they don't hit slightly bigger channels. So I kind of get happy every time they're there. Yes! More slaughter.
But I'm sure, I'm not sure, but if that moment does happen, I feel like Lucy, assuming he's been able to resolve some of his issues with that, would be a very key part of helping you through, or helping Dante through that. So assuming Lucy makes it to that point, because you never know. Not just in terms of him being alive, but I'd never rule out the possibility that Lucy just becomes so self-centered and so out of touch with other people because he doesn't get the healing that he needs from the stuff that he's going through now.
There are so many paths in front of Lucy. And we also have another question. What do you feel is the most relatable trait of your character? What is one single character trait from someone else in BTT's character that you find relatable? Aha. I mean, personally, I relate a lot to Dante because of his fear. I'm a very terrified person in general. Although I am a bit more functional than he is. Uh, so like, yeah, I can relate to that because in a way it is a way amplified just side of myself. Uh, but I at the same time I do also relate to Lucy's sort of self confidence and his power to get up there because of just it's something I can do here with you people because I've sort of gone past my own anxiety with you people. Uh, so while the other side here might be at least slightly professional on on just a call with everyone else, I am probably as loud and as dumb as I can be. Just straight up propositioning Merlin for sex and doing all sorts of other things.
Putting Merlin on blast. Wow.
uh,
What's kind of funny is that kind of related to that. When it's like the group just talking outside of uh, all this stuff, I'm generally on the more quiet side, and you guys are talking a lot more than me usually.
mm,
But so to answer the question, I'll answer the question from a little bit of a different standpoint, where I won't relate it to me. I'll relate it to humanity in general.
aha.
Um, yeah. So I feel one of the most relatable traits of Lucy, I wouldn't say is his self-confidence, because I feel like everyone struggles with self-confidence and having an identity to be confident about. So I would say one of Lucy's most relatable traits is just the nature of humanity and what it means to be a human, at least for Lucy, which in his eyes is suffering, but also, despite the suffering, still continuing to live and try to make better life for, if not yourself, then for others. And I feel like that is one of the more relatable traits about Lucy is just the essence of what it means to be a human. And I know I kind of cheated on that answer, but
Okay.
you guys don't have a choice. And then so for the second question, which is what is one single character trait from someone else that I find relatable? I'll answer that, from a more personal view, but one one trait that I feel relatable. I actually have to think about this. Don't think I've had to think about any other ones, but I would say, hmm, this is a hard one actually. Who do I relate to outside of Lucy?
It must be because the entire party is such a well-rounded group of people who have, so many wonderful character traits.
um, let's see. I don't know who I relate to be honest. Like, I'm just very unlike the other characters in uh VTT. Like I'm definitely not very much like Dante. I'm I guess I'm most like Matif out of all of them, just because Matif is the one that's most like Lucy. So okay, so to answer that question, I think for me, one of Matif's traits in that he is stubborn when it comes to things that he believes in is that he's very unwilling to compromise. Um, and with relating to very important things, right? So obviously, if I have an argument with someone, I'm not stubborn to the point where I won't give in. But when it comes to certain things like beliefs, like the belief that everyone should have the freedom and opportunity to, live their best life, as long as it doesn't, encroach on the lives of others. I believe in that, and that's something that it would be very hard to convince me that, of that otherwise. So yeah, definitely Matif's stubbornness in the things that he believes in is what I find most relatable. But actually, it took me a lot of thinking. I wasn't able to answer right away.
Well, that just means it's a good question.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Hmm.
So let's see. I think I, for sure, uh, dusted the floor with having the longest Otherside episode, as we are now almost at 3 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah, we are actually like, uh, what?
We're
We're kind
nearing
of
a
beating a lot of
VTT
other
episode status.
VTTs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we've had some long ones and some short ones, but I think in general a lot of them are shorter than this. Yeah. A lot of them are
Merlin has a
right around two and a half.
whole gold mine.
if he has the time to watch this entire thing. Hmm. Hmm.
So what do you say? Shall we just end it at 3:30?
Yes, let's do
Just
that.
to round out the number? Okay.
Wait. Oh no, I don't even think I can really do that. Because I've of course got the stream time counter, but I don't have one in Streamlabs. Nope, I do. I can do that. Yes. Good. Because I did.
So we have 6 minutes to discuss or to fill in.
Well, I guess part of what we can do is say that this has been a wonderful episode of The Other Side, and since, of course, you were the subject, Yume, thank you for being such a wonderful question subject? Victim. You're my victim.
Test subject. Okay. Yes. It's honored to be the victim of today's episode. See, it was only fair because I was the host of all the other episodes, other than the one where Merlin interviewed me.
Mm.
But it's good to have to be on the other side. Ha 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 ha.
I guess technically, like,
And
Merlin is backup host of Other Side, and I am backup Merlin. on the sort of basic stream level stuff.
And then you could also talk about any updates with our own individual channels, or we have any.
My channel is updates right now. It's a mess. Yeah.
Well, we can talk about so as you all probably know, we are accepting applicants for a second VTT team. Or not a second VTT team, but a second tabletop team. And just to give a little bit more detail, you should be able to find the application on our Reddit and also our Twitter, and I believe on the Discord as well. And on that application poster, you will find an email where you can submit your application to. And Corpse is applied. I encourage everyone who wants to apply, D&D experience or not, to apply, because it's a hell of a time. I had no experience when I applied, and I've learned so much and grown so much and gotten so much from just being in VTT. It's no regrets there. And if I had to, I would make the same choice over and over again. And yeah, and related to that, the campaign that the Team B will be participating in will be in the same world, and I assume at the same time. So there is the chance that our two teams will come across each other. And I look forward to the day when someone outside of the group interacts with Lucy. Because we already saw what happened with Johan.
Oh, that was.
Johan did not have a good time.
Johan should just not have lied. I think that's the. I think that's the big kicker.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't expecting the bad guard, good guard team of Lucy and Dante.
Maybe it would have worked even better if you actually saw me do something.
And actually, I just thought about it, but Dante Alighieri and his Inferno working with Lucifer.
Oh.
How coincidental is that?
Quite, because, I mean, Dante's Inferno was a part of why he's called Dante, but not to this extent.
Yeah, and that was not planned. That just ended up being the way it is.
We just made some what compatible characters.
And we have a minute 30 left, but I also encourage you guys to spread the word to a lot of your other favorite VTuber streamers. Let them know about the application, because we welcome anyone, everyone, everything to apply, because we enjoy having a wide diversity of people, seeing as all of our backgrounds differ so much, and we're literally from around the globe.
I noticed an issue right there. If we're going to end at 3:30, we have a stream ending page. Well,
we have 45 minutes or 45 seconds.
Yeah. How about I just go there when there are 30 seconds left, which is in 3, 2, 1. Bye, everyone.
Bye.